I still remember the night everything changed. The rain pounded against the windows of our suburban home, matching the tempo of my stepmother's screaming voice. I was 22, fresh out of college with a business degree that, according to her, wasn't worth the paper it was printed on. Useless. Victoria's face was red with rage as she threw my resume across the kitchen. 3 months after graduation and you still can't find a proper job. Living here, eating our food, wasting space. My father stood in the corner, his silence more devastating than any words could be. He hadn't spoken much since marrying Victoria 2 years ago, letting her slowly take control of every aspect of our lives, including the software company he'd built from scratch. I've been interning at startups, I tried to explain, keeping my voice steady. Learning the industry from the ground up. Unpaid internships. Victoria spat. Meanwhile, my Sophia is already a junior executive at your father's company. She gestured to her daughter, my stepsister, who leaned against the doorframe with a smug smile. Sophia, 2 years older than me, had waltzed into a management position at Harrison Software the moment Victoria married my father. No experience, no relevant degree, just the right connections and her mother's influence. I'm working on something, I said quietly. A new software platform for. Another one of your ridiculous ideas, Victoria cut me off. Like that silly app you tried to develop in college, the one that failed miserably? My hands clenched under the table. That app hadn't failed. Victoria had convinced my father not to provide the seed funding I needed, calling it a waste of resources. A month later, a similar app launched and became a $1 million success. I just need a little more time. Time. Victoria slammed her hands on the table. You've had plenty of time. Look at Sophia. She's already bringing in 6 figures, managing a whole department. And you? You sit in your room all day, typing away at that laptop, pretending to be the next Steve Jobs. I glanced at my father, hoping to see some sign of the man who used to encourage my interest in technology, who taught me my first programming language when I was 12. But his eyes remained fixed on the floor. Dad, I started, but Victoria wasn't finished. Don't bother appealing to him, she sneered. He agrees with me. It's time for you to go. We're done supporting your delusions of grandeur. My father's slight nod was all it took for my world to crumble. You have until morning to pack your things, Victoria continued. After that you're out. Maybe sometime the real world will teach you that success requires more than dreams and silly coding projects. Sophia's laughter followed me up the stairs as I went to pack my belongings. 10 years of work, all my research, prototypes, and business plans fit into 2 suitcases and a laptop bag. As I closed my bedroom door for the last time, I heard Victoria and Sophia discussing how they would redecorate the spare room. That night, as the storm raged outside, I made a promise to myself. Someday they would regret this moment. Someday they would understand exactly what they had thrown away. I had $3,000 in savings and a partially developed software platform that I knew could revolutionize how companies handled data security. Victoria and my father might not have seen its potential, but I knew its worth. The next morning, I left before dawn, catching a bus to the city with no real destination in mind. As I watched our house disappear in the distance, I could still hear Victoria's words echoing in my head. You'll never amount to anything. She had no idea how wrong she was. I spent the first month sleeping on my best friend Mia's couch, working day and night to finish my security software. Mia, who worked at a major tech company, saw the potential immediately. This is incredible, she said one night, reviewing my code. The encryption algorithm you've developed, it's unlike anything on the market. I nodded, exhausted but determined. I know, but without connections or capital. Mia's eyes lit up. Actually, I might know someone. My company's been looking for exactly this kind of solution. Would you be willing to pitch to them? 2 weeks later, I stood in front of a panel of executives, presenting my software platform. My hands shook slightly, but my voice remained steady as I demonstrated how my system could protect corporate data more effectively than anything currently available. The room was silent when I finished. Then the CEO spoke. This is remarkable. We don't just want to buy your software, we want to acquire your company. I blinked. My company? Yes. We'll need you to officially incorporate, of course, but we're prepared to offer $5 million for the acquisition, plus a position for you as head of our security division. $5 million. more money than Victoria had ever made in her entire career. But I shocked everyone, including myself, by saying no. I appreciate the offer, I said carefully, but this is just the beginning. I believe this platform is worth more as the foundation of a new company than as part of an existing one. They countered with $10 million. I still declined. Walking out of that meeting, I felt simultaneously terrified and exhilarated. I had just turned down life-changing money, but something in my gut told me I was making the right choice. Mia thought I was crazy. $10 million, Julia. You could have been set for life. Or I could build something bigger, I replied, already working on my next iteration of the software, something that will make 10 million look like pocket change. I was right. Over the next 6 months, I refined my platform, making it more powerful, more versatile, and more user-friendly. I lived on ramen noodles and coffee, working 18-hour days, sleeping on Mia's couch until my back ached. Then came the breakthrough. A small article in a tech blog featured my software as a promising new security solution. Within days, my inbox was flooded with inquiries from potential investors. Venture capital firms started calling, tech giants wanted meetings. I chose my investors carefully, maintaining majority control of my company, which I named Ironclad Systems. The first round of funding brought in $30 million. 6 months later, we raised another $100 million. Within 2 years, Ironclad Systems had become one of the fastest-growing tech companies in the country. Our security platform was being used by major corporations, government agencies, and financial institutions worldwide. I moved from Mia's couch to a penthouse apartment. My company occupied 3 floors in a downtown high-rise. I had a team of over 200 employees, all of them chosen for their talent and innovation rather than their connections. But I kept my success quiet. No press interviews, no public appearances. In the tech world, I was known simply as JH, the reclusive founder of Ironclad Systems. My full name never appeared in any company materials or press releases. I wanted to wait for the perfect moment to reveal who I really was. And that moment was coming sooner than Victoria or Sophia knew. Through my industry contacts, I heard that Harrison Software was struggling. My father's once successful company had been mismanaged into near bankruptcy. Victoria's excessive spending and Sophia's incompetent leadership had driven away key clients and talented employees. Then I saw the job posting. Executive Vice President of Operations needed at Harrison Software. Competitive salary, immediate start required. I smiled, knowing exactly who would apply for that position. Victoria had been forced to step down from her role at a previous company due to management issues, and this would be exactly the kind of opportunity she tried to seize. Sure enough, her application landed on my desk, forwarded by a friend who worked in executive recruitment. Victoria had no idea that Ironclad Systems had recently purchased a controlling interest in Harrison Software through a series of shell companies. No idea that the mysterious JH she would be interviewing with was the same stepdaughter she had thrown out into the rain 10 years ago. I scheduled her interview for a rainy morning, a small but satisfying touch of poetic justice. As I waited in my office, watching the storm through floor-to-ceiling windows, I thought about how far I'd come from that night when I had nothing but 2 suitcases and a dream. Victoria was about to learn an important lesson about judging people's worth, and I was going to enjoy every moment of teaching it to her. The morning of Victoria's interview, I'd arrived at the office early, making sure everything was perfect. My executive suite was designed to intimidate, all sleek lines and floor-to-ceiling windows, with my numerous industry awards displayed prominently on the walls. Ms. Harrison, my assistant's voice came through the intercom. Your 9 a.m. appointment has arrived. I smiled, adjusting my Armani suit. Give me 2 minutes, then send her in. Through my office's one-way glass wall, I watched Victoria pace the waiting area. She looked older than I remembered, her designer outfit slightly outdated, her confidence visibly forced. Sophia's mismanagement and her own poor decisions had taken their toll. When she entered my office, I remained seated behind my desk, letting her take in the view of the city skyline behind me. Mrs. Victoria Harrison, I kept my voice neutral, gesturing to the chair across from me. Please have a seat. She sat down, smoothing her skirt nervously. Thank you for meeting with me, Ms. I'm sorry, I wasn't given your full name. All in good time, I replied, opening her resume on my tablet. Tell me, why did you leave your last position? Victoria shifted uncomfortably, creative differences with the board. They weren't ready for my innovative management style. Interesting. I pulled up a different document. Because according to my sources, you were asked to resign after multiple complaints about toxic leadership and financial mismanagement. The color drained from her face. That's not. Who are you? I stood up slowly, walking around my desk. Let's talk about Harrison Software, the company my father built from nothing, which you and Sophia have nearly destroyed in less than a decade. Victoria's eyes widened as recognition slowly dawned. Julia? Hello, Victoria. Surprised to see that your useless stepdaughter amounts to something after all. She shot to her feet, her chair scraping against the floor. This is impossible. You disappeared. You were nothing. No, I corrected her calmly. I was exactly what you couldn't see, someone with vision, drive, and actual talent. Not just connections and borrowed authority. How? How are you here? This is Ironclad Systems. Yes, one of the most successful tech companies in the world. My company. I gestured to the awards on the wall. Turns out those silly coding projects were worth something after all. Victoria's knees seemed to give out, and she sank back into her chair. You're JH. The JH who just bought controlling interest in Harrison Software. The very same. I returned to my seat, which means I'm now effectively your boss. Well, I would be, if I had any intention of hiring you. You can't do this, she whispered, but there was no conviction in her voice. Actually, I can, and I'm going to do more than just reject your job application. I pulled up another document on my tablet. I'm cleaning house at Harrison Software, starting with you and Sophia. Victoria's face contorted with rage. You vindictive little. Careful. I cut her off. Remember who holds all the power now. The same useless stepdaughter you kicked out into the rain now controls your fate. Your father won't allow this. I laughed, the sound sharp in the quiet office. My father? The man who stood silent while you destroyed his life's work? He signed over his voting rights to me yesterday. He finally saw what your management has done to his company. The fight seemed to drain out of Victoria as the full reality of her situation sank in. What are you going to do? First, you and Sophia will resign, effective immediately. Then, I'm going to rebuild what you nearly destroyed. Harrison Software will be merged with Ironclad's security division, creating something stronger than either company alone. And us? What about us? I stood up again, walking to the window. I've thought about this moment for 10 years, imagined all the ways I could hurt you, like you hurt me. But I realized something. Success isn't about revenge. It's about building something meaningful. I turned back to face her. So I'm going to give you what you never gave me, a chance. Not at an executive position, of course. But there's an entry-level position in our customer service department. You can start from the bottom, like I did, and actually earn your way up. Victoria's mouth fell open. Customer service? Me? Take it or leave it. But remember, your reputation in the industry is already damaged. This might be your last chance at a legitimate position in tech. She stared at me for a long moment, tears welling in her eyes. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Less than you might think, I replied honestly. I stopped letting you control my emotions years ago. This isn't about satisfaction. It's about setting things right. The next hour was a blur of paperwork and legal documents. Victoria signed her resignation, accepted the entry-level position, and left my office a very different person than when she entered. Later that afternoon, my father came to see me. He looked older, tired, but there was something in his eyes I hadn't seen in years. Pride. I'm sorry, he said simply, standing in my doorway. I should have believed in you. I gestured for him to sit down. Yes, you should have. But that's the past. Want to hear about the future of Harrison Software? He smiled, tears in his eyes. More than anything. The merger of Harrison Software and Ironclad Systems became industry news. The mysterious Jade was finally revealed to the world as Julia Harrison, and the story of how I built my empire after being kicked out of my home went viral. Sophia resigned before I could fire her, disappearing to some distant relative's house. Victoria started her customer service job, and to everyone's surprise, including mine, she actually worked hard at it. Maybe humility was the lesson she needed all along. My father retired officially but stayed on as an advisor, helping me blend the best of his original vision with my innovative approaches. Together, we rebuilt his legacy into something even stronger. Last week, I found the old resume Victoria had thrown across the kitchen that rainy night. I had kept it all these years, tucked away in a drawer. Looking at it now, I smiled at my younger self's dreams and aspirations. That girl had no idea she would exceed them all. The rain still makes me thoughtful, reminding me of the night everything changed. But now it reminds me that sometimes being pushed out into the storm is exactly what we need to find our true path. My office still has those floor-to-ceiling windows, but I've added something new. A small plaque on my desk that reads, "Success is the best revenge, but forgiveness sets you free." Victoria saw it during her performance review last month. She's actually doing well in her new role, showing a humility and work ethic I never knew she possessed. When she read the plaque, I saw something shift in her eyes. Understanding, perhaps, or acceptance. "You really meant it," she said quietly, "about giving people chances. Everyone deserves the opportunity to rewrite their story," I replied. "Even you?" She nodded, and for the first time in our complicated history, there was respect in her eyes rather than contempt. The company continues to grow, but that's not what makes me proudest. What matters most is that I built something that represents the opposite of everything Victoria once stood for. A place where talent and hard work matter more than connections, where innovation is valued over intimidation, and where even those who once fell can find a way to rise again. Sometimes, late at night when I'm working late, I look out over the city lights and think about that rainy night 10 years ago. "You'll never amount to anything," Victoria had screamed. Those words could have broken me, but instead, they became the foundation of my success. Because sometimes the people who don't believe in you are the ones who motivate you to prove just how wrong they are. And sometimes the greatest victory isn't in proving them wrong, but in becoming strong enough to give them a chance to prove themselves right. That's the real power of success, not the ability to take revenge, but the strength to offer redemption, even to those who never offered it to you.